This is the CBC Morning Report for Monday, August 22nd. In our top story, there are questions this morning about the impact on local farmers regarding the new food system and logistics hub. It's coming from James Paul, the Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, who wants to know what opportunities there are for local farmers. Good morning to you, Mr. Paul.
Good morning.
Yes. Now, what are your main concerns about the proposed regional food collection system?
Well, first of all, I think that it's not concerns really. It's just that I think we want to know how our local farmers can gear themselves in order to participate more effectively in whatever is proposed at the regional level. And that is the important thing, that farmers just would want to be able to position themselves, position their businesses, to be able to participate much more effectively in any regional opportunities that exist to be part of any regional food system.
Okay, now how do you see it fitting in to the current food distribution system model which we have?
Well, first of all, one of the things is that we must recognize is that there's already a food distribution model, as you just said. And really, in truth and in fact, one of the things that we should be trying to do is enhance that, and also, of course, recognize the players that are there and who already play a role in terms of food distribution systems in the region. And we cannot marginalize them, because to the extent that we can get them to be more committed in terms of helping to distribute locally grown agricultural products in the region, that in itself will determine how successful we are. Because across the region, one of the concerns, even not only in Barbados, but farmers in other countries are concerned about, is that when they grow their food, they want to know that at the same time they have an opportunity to market the food that they are actually growing and sell, of course.
Okay, now do you foresee it creating any gluts or scarcities within our market, given that we will be bringing in food supplies from other regional countries?
It does not have to. Once, of course, you are strategic in the food supplies that you are actually bringing in. As we have consistently made the point in the past, it makes no sense for us, for instance, to be bringing in watermelons, which we produce in abundance in Barbados. Something like pumpkins, which again we produce in abundance in Barbados, because all that will do is to frustrate our local farmers. And then, of course, across the region and in individual countries, these commodities have their own seasonality. So we should not assume that any one individual country has been able to produce food consistently throughout the year. And then, of course, it will impact on us negatively when that country, which has basically damaged, say, our local suppliers by, bringing in too much food at that particular time, cannot supply. And of course, then we have to revert to our local farmers. And then what happens then, of course, is that the farmers take a while now to put in necessary systems in order to grow the food. So it does not have to, but there has to be at least some level of coordination, some level of understanding as to what are the strengths of the individual countries, and really what you need to do to avoid any actions that will basically compromise food production in any particular country.
Now we're on the issue, James, final question to you, of food, the food production strength of countries. We're now looking to an economy like Brazil. What ramifications can you see there?
Again, it does not have to be a threat. Once, of course, we respect the fact that local countries, local Caribbean producers have the ability to produce adequately certain types of food, and of course to supply the local population. Of course, then what we should be concentrating on, even if you're going to talk about Brazil, is really how can they help regional food producers to, for instance, cope much better with their own environmental conditions, sort of to grow on a more sustainable basis. If you look at it from that point of view, there should be no threat. But I really think that sometimes We misunderstand the roles that as farmers associations, the individual countries that we can do to help one another to be more consistent in the production of food. So in terms of Brazil, Brazil have their own technologies, of course, which we can, of course, learn from. And certainly they might learn a few things from us. So it does not have to be that the relationship could be disadvantageous to our local Caribbean countries. It could at least produce some positive results. But I believe at the same time, we have to be involved. Farmers in the region and in Barbados have to be involved in developing those relationships and the systems, because if you have the wrong relationships being developed, the wrong systems being developed, it can, yes, work out to our disadvantage.
Okay. I want to thank you for joining me so much, Mr. Paul. James Paul, Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, with his concerns about the food collection hub. Do have a good morning.
Thank you. You also too.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, updates on the pandemic and the war in the Ukraine. Barbados has recorded 146 new COVID-19 cases. Those stats are made up of 71 males and 75 females from the 530 tests conducted at laboratories across the island on Saturday, August 20th. Of the positive cases, 26 people were under the age of 18 and 120 were 18 years and older. There were 74 people in isolation facilities, while 2,632 were in home isolation. No deaths were recorded yesterday, so the number of COVID-19 related deaths remains at 530. Under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, 163,124 people have received one dose of the vaccine, while 154,271 people are fully vaccinated. The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, continues to support Bermuda, ensuring a safer and healthier tourism destination for visitors and locals. In a statement issued over the weekend, the Trinidad and Tobago-based body said the sector is a critical industry for Bermuda, which has faced many challenges due to the ongoing pandemic. To support the tourism recovery efforts on the island, a team from CARPHA conducted 3 days of stakeholder consultations and training on the island from July 25th through 27th. The team included representatives from CARPHA's Tourism Health Program that aims to improve the health and well-being of visitors and locals and to ensure the sustainability of the local tourism industry and economy. Calls are growing for military restraint around the Moscow-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine as Western leaders vowed to maintain the backing for Kiev in the war against Russia. In a phone call on Sunday, the four leaders of the U.S., UK, France, and Germany also called for a quick visit to the nuclear site by independent inspectors of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Ukrainian officials say that artillery shells rained down on a city near the atomic power complex overnight, sparking a large fire and cutting power to around 3,000 people. Russia has been accused of turning the facility into a military base. On Friday, the French presidency says Russian leader Vladimir Putin had agreed that inspectors from the UN's nuclear watchdog could travel to the plant for an inspection. Patty Culhane has more of this now from Washington.
When it came to the nuclear power plant, they said, they quote, they discussed the situation around Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, need to avoid military operations near the plant, and the importance of an IAEA visit as soon as feasible. So knowing what we know about these calls, because details always leak out after the fact, what were they likely talking about? Well, the leaders probably wanted to hear directly from French President Emmanuel Macron on what he personally thought of his conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, where he came out and said he was now open to having those inspectors inside the nuclear power plant. So again, these are the leaders of the U.S., France, Germany, and the U.K. What else were they likely to talk about? Probably intelligence. We've all seen those pictures on social media of those military trucks inside the facility. The U.S. government and these governments are going to have a much better assessment of the people on Twitter or anything we would know about what the potential uses for those military trucks are. Another thing they're likely going to be talking about is if the worst case happens, if there is a malfunction at the plant, there is a radioactive cloud, what are they going to do if it drifts into a NATO member country? Remember, Article 5 says a direct attack on any NATO country means NATO then instantly gets involved in the war. Well, would a radioactive cloud be considered a direct attack on that country? So undoubtedly they'll be discussing that. This is also, these readouts are important because they send a message. They send a message to the Kremlin and to Vladimir Putin that this is an issue, especially when it comes to the nuclear reactor, that these leaders are taking very seriously, and it sends a message that they're working on what a response would be.
And it's time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados. I'm sitting in for Pearson Bowen this morning. Well, it's an artsy Monday. Yes, there's a lot going on in the creative community. We will be hearing all about an in-residency art camp. We'll also be hearing about a hip-hop session that will be taking place between the NCF and the U.S. Embassy, along with our conversations on CARICOM. So details to these stories and more coming up on Morning Barbados. It's time now for more news on the CBC Morning Report after the break. A regional ally has called on the Democratic Labour Party to get its house in order to be able to serve the people of Barbados. It comes from Senator Clement Marcelin Jr. of Dominica, who was a guest speaker at the weekend for the party's 67th annual general conference at the George Street headquarters. He said there was a need to regroup and answer the call because Barbadians need the DLP.
Now, it's time for you, the Democratic Labour Party, to put your house in order. The people of Barbados, will have to depend on the renewed and improved version of the Democratic Labour Party to steer the ship safely back into the safe harbor. I say it's time that for the Democratic Labour Party to understand that sooner than you think, you will be called to duty to address the current challenges that are being faced by your mighty nation.
Meanwhile, President of the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, is claiming that the pressure they have been exerting on government over the Auditor General's report is bearing fruit, and he says they're now getting started.
The government says it's addressing the cost of living, yet every day the crisis continues. The government says there are no issues with the Auditor General's report. That is laughable if it were not so serious. We want to hear those elected, and we want them to be held accountable to us, Barbadians, and to this party. Yes, this party. The government is accountable to us because we make up part of Barbados. We and other citizens put pressure on the government in regards to the Auditor General's report to respond to the concerns expressed in that report. It seems that pressure is working.
The Director of Finance, Ian Carrington, wrote to the Speaker of the House on August 18th, outlining that he had reviewed the queries raised by the Auditor General in his latest report. His letter said ministries and departments must be assisted in ensuring greater observance of the highest accounting standards in the interest of eliminating reporting errors and omissions, too many of which were highlighted in the report and confirmed in his ministry's review. The Director of Finance also highlighted in his correspondence that in the last 4 years, the Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment has met with the Auditor General to review his report. The Director of Finance to review his report, and they also requested at that time that if ministries and departments were not responding to queries, that this be communicated to the Director of Finance and Economic Affairs for intervention, but no such requests were received. Mr. Carrington also wrote that with the passing of the Public Finance Management Act 2019, there would be the establishment of an internal audit department that would enhance transparency, accountability, and good governance with respect to the utilization of the people of Barbados' resources. The COVID-19 pandemic and other external shocks prevented its establishment, but it will be coming in the next fiscal year, 2023 to 2024. The Internal Audit Department will also serve to ensure that government's financial systems are sound and that its reporting is up to date and timely. Dr. Yearwood, in his maiden address as president under the theme My Mother's Promise, told the audience he welcomed the creation of the Internal Audit Office. However, it was not enough. Just days after news of the hike of the United Kingdom's inflation rate broke, the Bishop of Croydon has been giving some insight into the economic situation in that country. The Right Reverend Dr. Rosemary Mallet, who is currently in Barbados, says many low-income earners in the UK are struggling. She made the point during her sermon at the St. Lawrence Anglican Church.
In the United Kingdom and in Croydon, poverty and hunger are rife. Unemployment is just rampaging at the moment. Even though they say we have sufficient jobs, there are so many people unemployed. Working people are extensively using food banks, and that includes our lower paid key workers, such as nurses. On-street homelessness and begging has increased exponentially. There isn't a high street that you don't see somebody bedding down on the road and somebody with a little cup out asking you for money.
Renowned photographer Ronnie Carrington is celebrating 65 years in the business, and he gave back to the community with a photography workshop. I was at the event held over the weekend at the Grand Salle of the Central Bank, which was sponsored by the National Transformation Initiative, and he sought to give photographers some master tips on how to get the images people would want to see. It was a master and his students, as Ronnie Carrington, as part of the celebrations for his 65th anniversary, conducted a workshop. The participants included those who work as photographers and those who just love taking pictures to document various aspects of history. He took them through the rudiments of the craft.
Sometimes when there's too much opportunity, you get confused. And Kuduman Day is one of those with a lot of color, a lot of movement. And very often the pictures that you come back with, when you look at them, you think, you know, really not really saying anything that other people are not saying. So what I do is I choose beforehand a theme for the day for me. So I've noticed over the years that, watching people in these bands, and so the people who are smiling and who are enjoying themselves are very few in terms of the expression on their faces.
On the sidelines, Mr. Carrington said he was happy that individuals were getting something out of it. And sessions such as this were integral in the continuity of the profession.
We have a duty to pass on to next generations. I think that the world is based on that, the next generation handing over. And we can't take the information with us, so the next best thing to do is to leave it behind.
He also outlined the celebrations.
Well, we had a photo tour, first of all, a couple of weeks ago. Then we have this workshop. And the next thing is an exhibition starting on the 17th of September at Queen's Park Gallery. And there's a documentary being done on me, which is not of my own making, but my brother and a group of people that he put together, they're putting a documentary out. So that's going to be shown on the 17th as well.
Mr. Carrington said the news of the documentary was initially a shock because he's not a boastful type. But Barbados has been good to him. And today's session is his way of giving back. Wendy Burke, CBC News. The main opposition in Guyana has been told its calls for changes to the voters list will not be followed. The call came from opposition leader Aubrey Norton, but Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdale says an alleged threat will not be taken lightly and will be brought to the attention of the international community. More in this HGP-TV report.
Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdale on Friday made it pellucid that government will not yield to the demands of the APNU-ASC opposition for the creation of a new list of electors and the ousting of Chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, before the next elections are held. He told reporters during a press conference that the government will not act in contravention of the laws to formulate a fresh voters list without the necessary clearance from the court.
It would be unconstitutional to remove people's names from the voters list without, given the ruling of the Chief Justice and the Constitution itself. So we are not going to, in the People's Progressive Party, we're not going to support any process that is unconstitutional.
Jagdale pointed out that opposition leader Aubrey Norton is attempting to bully GCOM's chairman out of her capacity to create an environment where electoral malpractices the coalition is known for can occur. The vice president considers the recent utterances of the opposition leaders signaling aggressive actions if the elections are held under the current circumstances as threats to GCOM's chairman, and according to him, they will not be brushed aside.
Mexico, like so many other places around the world, is in the midst of a devastating heat wave. July was the second hottest month in Mexico since 1953. Amid those high temperatures is a severe shortage of water.
It had the feel of an outdoor festival or county fair. But this public gathering in northern Mexico is a citizens group response to a crisis, a severe drought that has caused extensive water shortages in Coahuila State. During a recent day-long event they called Waterton, they were collecting bottled water for distribution in neighborhoods where taps have run dry. It is urgent to send truckloads to those communities, this organizer says, adding that their goal was to collect 10 metric tons of bottled water for people in need. Coahuila is not the only Mexican state facing a severe drought. It's so dry in Nuevo León, which borders with Texas, that Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador declared an emergency there late last month, as most of the country suffers rain shortages since 2020 and 2021.
En una situación de emergencia.
In an emergency situation, people's needs should be the priority, the president said. His decree means that the government can tap into industrial and agricultural water allotments to quench people's thirst.
Workers at the United Kingdom's busiest port have gone on an 8-day strike for the first time in 30 years. The walkout by Unite union members will cause major economic disruption.
The world's largest container ship at Britain's largest container port. The Everalot arrived on Thursday and normally would be long gone by now, but strike action by Felixstowe's 1,900 dock workers has stopped operations. The Unite union says a recently increased offer of a 7% pay rise doesn't keep pace with spiralling inflation. It's seeking a double-digit raise that it says would share surging corporate profits, $71 million at last count, more equitably with the workers.
Now, unfortunately, we've yet to be given an offer which we think we can take back and which reflects our members' aspirations. And talking to our members today, and which we're in a position to do, as you can see, we've had that message sent back to us loud and clear.
Felixstowe Port says it was reminded in recent days by the Bank of England of the inflationary effects of big pay rises. The port company accuses the union of using the workers in a national struggle.
On average for our workers, this is an extra £3,500 in cash to them each year. The action that they're taking now, that Unite is making them take, and Unite haven't put this offer to our workers, but the action that Unite is making them take is actually going to take the best part of £1,000 out of their pocket.
The question is how far the effects of this shutdown will ripple through the UK economy. The port says the effects will be manageable, pointing to the lessons learned during the supply chain disruption of the pandemic. Certainly the Everalot isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and some industry analysis suggests other container shippers are already offloading their cargo in Europe instead of the UK. The union accepts there will be major disruption and says that it could carry out further strikes as it seeks what it says is a fair deal.
In sports, West Indies lost their one-day international series with New Zealand 2-1 after going down in last night's decider at Kensington Oval. West Indies batted first in the third ODI and posted 34-8 in their 50 overs. Kyle Mayers top scored with 105, his second ODI century, with 12 fours and 3 sixes, while skipper Nicholas Pooran got 91 with 4 fours and 9 sixes, and Shea Hope added 51. Trent Bolt took 3 for 53. We have the highlights from that innings. ...107 for 5 off 47.1 overs to win by 5 wickets. Captain Tom Latham was the player of the match as he led with 69. That included 6 fours. Darryl Mitchell added 63, Martin Guptill's 57, and Devon Conway 56. Jason Holder took 2 for 37, and Yannick Correa 2. New Zealand's 5-wicket victory gave them the series 2-1, and this marks the first time the Kiwis have ever won an ODI series against the West Indies in the Caribbean. New Zealand spinner Mitchell Santner was named Player of the Series. And it's time now to take a quick look at our weather picture this morning. What's it going to be like on the outside? The temperature is presently, well, as you can see, it's going to be a fairly good day this morning. Looking at our weather picture. Time now for the forecast. The high tide, you can see in the AM and one later in the afternoon, and then we will have high tide in the afternoon. Time now to take a look at the forecast. The seas are smooth to moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1 to 1.5 meters and increasing. The island will be cloudy with sunny periods and a few brief scattered light showers today, and tonight is expected to be cloudy with clear periods with a few brief scattered light showers. Here's now a look at our international cities. And that's the weather. That's it here from us on Morning Report. Stay tuned for our next newscast, Newsday, and it will begin at noon. You can also listen out for The World at 1 via our radio network stations of 100.7, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. It's time now for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
And a pleasant Monday morning to all of you out there, and welcome to Morning Barbados. I'm Wendy Burke, sitting in for Pearson this morning. As we told you in our preview, it's going to be Artsy Monday. Yes, we're going to be talking about all the various types of creatives that we have. Dance, artwork, the lot of it this morning on Morning Barbados. Yes, we're going to be talking hip-hop. The U.S. Embassy and the NCF Next Level are holding a hip-hop workshop. That workshop is in collaboration, I said, with the NCF. It's going to be 2 weeks, and it's part of the Embassy's Next Level hip-hop program, and it culminates with a free concert to the public on Friday, August 26th at the Commonwealth School Hall. So that's going to be something to look out for. But let's find out what the dancers will actually be going through in this workshop. And to help us take us through is Aisha Upchurch of Next Level Hip Hop. She's one of the dancers, and Queen Harrowin, the site manager of Next Level Hip Hop Program Barbados. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. Now, when we are talking hip hop, it's a genre that we know comes out of the U.S., but as we know with all things, music infiltrates all spaces, and so does dance. So tell me a bit about this workshop. I'll start with you first, Queen Harrowin, as site manager. Tell us a bit about how this workshop came into play.
Well, Next Level is actually an organization that's been, the inception was about 8 years ago. Shout out to Mark Katz, the founder, and to our director, Junius Brickhouse. So this has been going on now for almost 10 years. It's an amazing residency program where we collaborate in this space in other international places. This time around, we're in Barbados. We're excited to be here. And so the residency is a 10-day intensive where we focus on having amazing teaching artists like Aisha Upchurch. We also have other amazing artists that cover the different disciplines within hip-hop. So Unlearn the World, who's an MC. Purple Haze, also an MC. Jay Musax is an aerosol artist who is working on a mural or potentially murals within the island or on the island. E. Cussionist, a producer, and Gyra Funk, also a producer. We also have Aja, our videographer, who's documenting all this so that we can continue to tell the narrative and share this amazing experience. But the workshops, they go for 10 days, and we have all these amazing participants who are on the island coming to share their talents and exchange in this program with us. So it's a beautiful experience. And as you mentioned, the culminating show at the very end, which is coming up on Friday.
Okay, if we can go to Aisha now in terms of the dance. Now, it's not just about teaching the style of dance and the new influences within. It's also about communicating a message through that particular form of dance.
Yeah, that's right on. I mean, there's such a rich dance community here that's not just representing hip hop and street dance, but also some of the participants are coming from other disciplines like contemporary, like modern, but also folklore, and learning more about the Afro-Caribbean movement. You know, it really is all connected. And so the workshops are not about us coming in. It's not about me coming in and like, this is what I do, and you're going to learn what I do. It's really a space of exchange and communication. And what I've had such a beautiful time so far learning with and from the participants is about the community here and how they want to tell their story of why dance is so important to their lives, even if they have other things going on, if they're in school or they have other professions. There's something about dance that they have to do, and they want to feel seen and appreciated for the very amazing talent that they bring to the form. And so I feel like I've learned, hopefully, I really do believe I've learned more than I've been actually teaching, so to say. And I think that is what is so beautiful about Next Level, is the workshops really are a space of exchange and highlighting and supporting artists that are in the places that we get to go to, instead of us necessarily teaching them how to be like us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're looking at the expression of the dance, but within one space. It's not a copycat format of hip hop from the US, but it's just about using it with your own cultural influences.
That's correct. And I will say one of the other things that is beautiful about being here is we get to see how much the participants know around the history of the evolution of the form. And I think that's what's been so brilliant, is that we all are on the team are educators. It's not just that we're performing artists, we are teaching artists. And so we understand that the internet is this amazing tool that people can kind of learn moves from or know what the hot song is, but you don't always grab the history, right? And so there's been a beautiful opportunities to bring in and fill in those gaps where folks haven't had access to some of the historical information. And hearing from participants that was really helpful for them. And so that's where I think the educator part really, really plays up, is for us to be able to represent the history of hip hop culture and know that Barbados has its particular history of hip hop, and we're learning that from the participants, and we want to highlight that as well.
Okay, and I understand another thing that we're also looking to highlight, Queen Heroine, is the business of hip hop, in terms of how you're utilizing it, where you can take it, you know, how you can use it as a tool.
Absolutely. As you say that, we have a entrepreneurship focus day rather, that's happening this week. And that'll be taking place on Wednesday. Want to actually acknowledge Erica Smith from Coscorp, who will be coming as a guest speaker. In addition to, of course, our teaching artists who will be sharing in their expertise and from a business standpoint, as you mentioned. So taking your craft, taking something that you love, the passion of what you love, but finding ways to make it work in an economic standpoint, and understanding that there is a relationship, or should be a relationship, in combining the art and the business sense. Right. So how can you utilize this in a way that you bring, you can make it resourceful for yourself, but also within the community. So whether that's organizational work, whether that's teaching, whether that's finding different ways to market yourself and what you do, and push into communities and facilitate courses. You know, as Aisha mentioned, we're all educators as well. So it's just finding creative ways to take what you love, but also make it something that's lucrative and sustainable for you as an actual artist, as a working artist, which is very important.
Okay, if I can come back to you now, Aisha, and let's look at the actual participation in the workshop in terms of the numbers we're talking about, and also to how they will feed into the final concert. What can we really expect when we come to Compa and see you all on that stage?
One word, party. I mean, hip hop, that's the essence of it, is fun, is gathering. And so I think with the dance, you'll see some work that the students created and taught. You'll see some work that I kind of created and brought, some of the things that really are kind of prominent in my practice. And it's just been a mashup, but you're going to see like a story of kind of Afro-Caribbean movement and the connection to modern day hip hop and street dance. So it'll be a party, because why would it be anything else?
A big party.
A big party. Lots of different rhythms, got a little dance hall in there, got a little old school hip hop in there, got a couple of surprises that I'm not going to drop here. Right. So you just have to come to the show.
That's it.
Is there going to be beatboxing?
Possibly. There'll be beats. You know, we can't reveal too much. You have to come and experience it firsthand. It will definitely be colorful, bright, all types of different amazing emotions and excitement. It is a vibe. It's a vibe.
Okay, and that's what we want to have at the end of the day. But we also want to make sure that those participants who are there understand what it is you're trying to fully impart. As we said, it's the bringing together of all the various elements, because, you know, dancing is a profession. It's not all that's a party. It is your profession, and you can earn from it, and you have to strengthen it. And, you know, there's an integrity in the actual process of dance, which you don't necessarily want to water down.
That's so true. And I will say what happens, our workshops are 5 to 8. We do a lot of movement. We leave very sweaty, but we also have these really beautiful conversations around where people started training and where they want to go. And I'm taking that all in, and I look forward to, especially in the entrepreneurship day that we have, to talk about what the pathway in dance looks like. I've noticed that some students are already teaching, and I have to say, if you would have asked me when I was 4, was teaching dance, or even when I was 8 or 10, being a dance teacher, I think that I would be doing that. I didn't see it then, but as I reflect now, all of these experiences when I was a young student and guests were coming in and there was movement and music, I wanted to get close to that. And part of the pathway can involve becoming a dance teacher. It can be performing in dance theater. It can be more the commercial route. There's various different avenues. And so we do talk about that. And I also have been learning what that's been like here on the island, because we don't want to confuse pathway in the U.S. with pathways from here. So we're listening, we're taking that in, we're trying to offer our experience to be in conversation, to be in a cipher with the context and the experiences and the realities that are here, and see how we can envision and support people in the thoughts that they have if they don't know. I've already had some students go like, where could I train if I went to Canada? Where could I train if I were to go to New York or California? And so this is about making space for those conversations, because as you said, it's expressive, but there's also the background work, like how to take care of your body. I am not as young as I was 20 years ago.
Yes, you are. She's lying.
Not my right knee is not as young as it was, but I've learned how to take care of my body, because my body is part of my craft. It's part of what I love to do. And so being able to impart that a little bit with the participants, particularly the younger ones, seems really important to make space for as well.
Okay, and if I can give you the final say-so, Queen, the embassy has come on board to ensure that this was possible. How long have they been working alongside you?
That's a great question. We're actually about a year and change in, and there's reasons for that. Obviously, we're all dealing with COVID and coming out of that from where we were. and how that has affected and changed things. I mean, even us being on this platform, which, being able to adapt and being resilient in this way is so critical. And thank goodness for technology and the use of technology and how it's able to just allow us to have these conversations. But I say that to say it's been about a year and change as it had to get pushed back, it meaning the residency a little bit, until we were in a safe space to be able to engage in this way. And despite our anxiousness, we were so excited and waiting for this to come to pass and be in this space where we are. We're so excited because now we're actually able to interact, in a physical, context, physically being there. And as an educator, of course, having technology is wonderful, but it's not the same as being able to be in the same physical space with someone, with people, interact, and really get to know who you're collaborating with. So shout out, yes, to the embassy.
Yes,
Go ahead,
especially if you want to catch the vibe that's being created.
Yeah, exactly.
In this
Back to the vibe word. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to Simone, of course, and Nikita over at the embassy, and NCF, of course, Alicia, and also Andrea Wells. It's just been a lot of different people coming together to make this happen, and we're grateful. We appreciate you here on Morning Barbados, of course, promoting and pushing and having the conversation with us. We thank you for that.
You're most welcomed, and we look forward to seeing you on stage on Friday at Combermere School Hall and getting in that hip hop at 8 p.m. It's been a pleasure having you both.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
That was Aisha Upchurch and Queen Heroine, who are here at the invitation of the U.S. Embassy and NCF to present the Next Level Hip Hop Workshop. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be telling you about an arts residency program.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. Yes, as we said, we are talking about the arts today, this bright Monday, and we're going to move away from dance now, and we're going to be looking at other art forms for the visual artists, sculptors, what have you. We'll find out exactly who were involved in this arts residency program. Yes, it's the Regional Artist Residency Caribbean Linked number 6, and it took in those from the English, Dutch, French, and Spanish-speaking territories of the Caribbean. To discuss with us this morning are Taisha Carrington, who was one of the local participants of it, Annalie Davis, the co-founder of Caribbean Linked program, and Catherine Kennedy, also an artist and residency coordinator for the Caribbean Linked program. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, let me start with Annalie as the co-founder of the program. Now, you would have had individuals in residency from the 25th of July until the 16th. So we're just a week off of the ending of it. How was it for you this year, pulling it all together?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having us on the program. It's great to be here. It was an incredible edition, our 6th edition. The Caribbean Link program was established in 2012, so this is our 10th year working alongside Elvis Lopez of Atelier 89 in Aruba and Yawo Holly-Bino of Arc Magazine. I come in as the co-founder of Fresh Milk, which is one of the partners setting up Caribbean Link, so that's my role in it. And we, up until this point, we've hosted close to 60 artists and then another 10 curators and writers in the program. This was a very special year. Every year we say that. I always say that the very special thing about Caribbean Linked is that I notice that when the artists come in, they come in as islands and they leave as an archipelago. And what's very, I think, strong about that is, as you mentioned, it's from the French, Spanish, English, and Dutch Caribbean that these young contemporary artists are coming into Aruba to experience a residency program, which means that they're living and working and eating together for 3 weeks. And they have the ambitious task of mounting an exhibition at the end of that 3 weeks. So when we bring them in, we spend almost the first 5 days doing tours across the island of Aruba, which looks very different to a lot of the other Caribbean islands. And it allows them to begin to develop relationships with one another and with the guest curator and the guest writer. And then they move into their studio spaces and they start to make work. And yeah, it was a very successful program this year.
Okay, if we can move now to Taisha in terms of participation, what was it like for you being in that space, living around other artists, not all of you necessarily sharing the same form of art or approaching art in the same way?
Yes, as Annalie mentioned, it was all linguistic territories, sections of the Caribbean, and that in itself already positions you to analyze your differences in a way that helps you develop new ways of thinking. So for me, it was getting to know about life in the Caribbean outside of the English-speaking Caribbean, and then how we use that information and bring it into our work to grow and develop, as Annalie mentioned, for 3 weeks. At the end of that, it's a very transformational experience. That just is a very rare opportunity in the Caribbean. Even though I live and practice art in Barbados, access to other artists in the region, it doesn't just appear, it has to be built. And this residency is one of the first ways I've had means of building those connections.
Okay, well, that's awesome to know that there was a takeaway. As she mentioned, it becomes an archipelago. Now, on to you now, Catherine, in terms of the program. What did it leave with you that you had not already taken into that space as an artist?
I mean, this is my third time physically going into Aruba for Caribbean Linked. I've been involved with its inception alongside Annalie and Yawo since 2012, but since 2016 I have been physically going into Aruba to assist with the management of the artists, seeing to their daily needs, making sure they have the materials they need, and support, whether that be mental, physical, emotional support to get through what is a very intense program with these artists, connecting on so many different levels over the 3 weeks. And even though this is my third year, as you say, there's always something new to take away from it. It's always such an immense pleasure to get to know and connect with these artists from across the whole region. It's always unique, and I think, as Annalie said, we always come out as a family. So I've left this experience with an entirely new family of 11 new creatives across the Caribbean who I didn't know nearly as well at the beginning, and now I feel as though I have these people that I can rely on, reach out to, and have built my network in such a very special and unique way.
What type of mediums were we working in?
Well, it's a cross-section, yeah. So we had Justin Reiner-Koos, who is an Aruban based in the Netherlands that is doing performance art. Taisha was working sculpturally and with video. People were doing paintings. It's a cross-section. We had a writer who then read an extract from a new piece that he had written at the opening. So it's a cross-section of people working as contemporary artists. Well, that's an extract there from Taisha's work, which I'm sure she can tell you more about.
Okay, Taisha, take us through your piece here.
So what you're seeing is a 2-minute film that played as part of my installation, where the concept I focused on was interrogating the language around island state, or islands and isolation, and how we compare that and how it affects our state of mind. So the piece is called State and State of Mind. So for this piece, I went to a islet off of Aruba, where I was there by myself, filming this process of making a space for me to be with this new mindset of separating state and state of mind. The isolated island, of course, representing newness and freshness, but also acknowledging that we are on islands and what it means to be in that space and still cultivate global perspective. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so it sounds as though you had fun learning and doing new and fresh things. Now, if I can come back to you, Catherine, this was number 6. When can we look forward to number 7, and what is the intended destination?
Well, the residency has taken place in Aruba every year so far. This has to do with our partner Atelier 89 based in Aruba, partly because they have the physical space to house these 10, 11, 12 creatives from across the region, and it also has to do with the funding sources. So much of the funding will come from the Netherlands and certain organizations there that are interested in the development of, yes, the Dutch Caribbean, but also in reaching out to, the wider region and working on these linkages that we've mentioned. We began doing the residency annually. We realized it took a tremendous amount of work to bring all of these people together. Like, planning the flights alone could be its own project. So we switched to doing it biannually at one point, so every 2 years. And of course, COVID hit. The region, really struggled even further with these connections, and this edition was meant to be in 2020. It's been pushed to 2022. So we really are now in the process of building what the future of Caribbean Linked will be in this post-COVID moment, and finding new ways of linking these different linguistic territories.
Okay, now I'm happy to see the region coming together and building the bridge through art, because we know that, there are certain things which unify because they present peace, they present happiness, they show us how rewarding life can be when we can be our most creative selves. So I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm happy to hear that number 6 went well. Here's looking forward to number 7, as time-consuming and as rigorous as it may get from time to time. But it means that the region and its art is growing from strength to strength. So I want to thank you, ladies, for coming this morning. Taisha Carrington, Annalie Davis, and Catherine Kennedy, who were all part of the 6th Regional Artist Residency Caribbean Linked, which happened in Aruba. Thank you so much, ladies, and do have a great morning.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
That's all about the arts. When we come back, it will be time for news, some more news here on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back with some news at the top of the hour. A regional ally has called on the Democratic Labour Party to get its house in order to be able to serve the people of Barbados. It comes from Senator Clement Marcelin Jr. of Dominica, who was guest speaker for the party's 67th Annual General Conference at its George Street headquarters over the weekend. He said there was a need to regroup and answer the call because Barbadians need the DLP.
Now, it's time for you, the Democratic Labour Party, to put your house in order. The people of Barbados, will have to depend on the renewed and improved version of the Democratic Labour Party to steer the ship safely back into the safe harbor. I say it's time for the Democratic Labour Party to understand that sooner than you think, you will be called to duty to address the current challenges that are being faced by your mighty nation.
Meanwhile, President of the Democratic Labour Party, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, is claiming that the pressure they've been exerting on government over the Auditor General's report is bearing fruit. And he says they're now getting started.
The government says it's addressing the cost of living, yet every day the crisis continues. The government says there are no issues with the Auditor General's report. That is laughable if it were not so serious. We want to hear those elected, and we want them to be held accountable to us, Barbadians, and to this party. Yes, this party. The government is accountable to us because we make up part of Barbados. We and other citizens put pressure on the government in regards to the Auditor General's report to respond to the concerns expressed in that report. It seems that pressure is working.
The Director of Finance, Ian Carrington, wrote to the Speaker of the House on August 18th, outlining that he had reviewed the queries raised by the Auditor General in his latest report. His letter said ministries and departments must be assisted in ensuring greater observance of the highest accounting standards in interest of eliminating reporting errors and omissions, too many of which were highlighted in the report and confirmed by his ministry's review. The Director of Finance also highlighted in his correspondence that in the last 4 years, the Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment has met with the Auditor General to review his report. And they've also requested at that time that if ministries and departments were not responding to queries, that this be communicated to the Director of Finance and Economic Affairs for intervention, but no such requests were received. Mr. Carrington also wrote that with the passing of the Public Finance Management Act of 2019, there would be the establishment of the Internal Audit Department that would enhance transparency, accountability, and good governance with respect to the utilization of the people of Barbados' resources. The COVID-19 pandemic and other external shocks prevented its establishment, but it will be coming in the new fiscal year 2023 to 2024. The Internal Audit Department will also serve to ensure that government's financial systems are sound and that its reporting is up to date and timely. Dr. Yearwood, in his maiden address as president under the theme My Mother's Promise, told the audience he welcomed the creation of the Internal Audit Office. However, it was not enough. And turning to the region now, just days after news of the hike of the UK's inflation broke, the Bishop of Croydon has been giving some insight into the economic situation in that country. The Right Reverend Dr. Rosemary Mallet, who is currently in Barbados, says many low-income earners in the UK are struggling. She made the point during her sermon at the St. Lawrence Anglican Church yesterday.
In the United Kingdom and in Croydon, poverty and hunger are rife. Unemployment is just rampaging at the moment. Even though they say we have sufficient jobs, there are so many people unemployed. Working people are extensively using food banks, and that includes our lower paid key workers, such as nurses. On-street homelessness and begging has increased exponentially. There isn't a high street that you don't see somebody bedding down on the road and somebody with a little cup out asking you for money.
The main opposition in Guyana has been told its calls for changes to the voters' list will not be followed. The call came from opposition leader Aubrey Norton, but Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo says an alleged threat will not be taken lightly and will be brought to the attention of the international community. More in this HGP-TV report.
Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo on Friday made it pellucid that government will not yield to the demands of the APNU-ASC opposition for the creation of a new list of electors and the ousting of Chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, before the next elections are held. He told reporters during a press conference that the government will not act in contravention of the laws to formulate a fresh voters list without the necessary clearance from the court.
It would be unconstitutional to remove people's names from the voters list without, given the ruling of the Chief Justice and the Constitution itself. So we are not going to, in the People's Progressive Party, we're not going to support any process that is unconstitutional.
Jagdeo pointed out that opposition leader Aubrey Norton is attempting to bully GCOM's chairman out of her capacity to create an environment where electoral malpractices the coalition is known for can occur. The vice president considers the recent utterances of the opposition leaders signaling aggressive actions if the elections are held under the current circumstances as threats to GCOM's chairman, and according to him, they will not be brushed aside.
And that's news for this morning. When we return, we'll be going back to Morning Barbados and having some conversations on CARICOM.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And welcome back to Morning Barbados. It's time now for us to talk CARICOM and what will be happening shortly. I'm happy to welcome His Excellency David Comishon, Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm here in Jamaica.
Yes, you are enjoying the Blue Mountains whilst I have to be here in studio this morning. Now, you are there for something very special. We would have had the celebration here, but you are in Jamaica because St. Anne's Bay, to be specific, the birthplace of Marcus Garvey. How's it been so far?
Yeah. Yes, I took part in a major Marcus Garvey celebration yesterday in Ocho Rios. IRI FM is the main radio station in Jamaica that pushes reggae music and Jamaica's national culture. And so every year they sponsor this major celebration of Marcus Garvey's birthday. So I had the pleasure and honor of being one of their guest speakers yesterday. It was magnificent. Thousands of people, very large celebration, reggae artists. It went really well, and I'm happy to see that we are paying attention to this great hero of all of the Black people of the world.
Yes, and it is great when we celebrate those who have gone before and left a legacy behind. Now, we are looking to create some new legacies, and we are heading back to the motherland. We are trying to strengthen those ties which we have with Africa through the first ever Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which starts at the end of this month and goes into September. Now, what is the main catalyst, the driving force behind this conference, Ambassador?
Yes, Wendy, I really wanted to take this opportunity to bring to the attention of Barbadians who may not be aware that there's going to be a very major Pan-African conference in Barbados from the 31st of August to the 3rd of September at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center. As you said, the first ever Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Now, the genesis of this, you would recall, Wendy, last year in September, on the 7th of September to be exact, we had the first ever Africa CARICOM Heads of Government Summit. It was an historic event. And out of that summit, our African and Caribbean heads of government, they made many resolutions, including the increase in trade and investment between Africa and the Caribbean. So the heads made these pronouncements, but pronouncements remain on paper unless somebody does something about them. And immediately, the Africa Export-Import Bank, this is a major African banking institution. It has branches in several parts of the African continent. A team from the bank, including its president, followed up the Heads of Government Summit by undertaking a visit of Barbados in late September. And during the course of that visit, it was agreed that this bank and Barbados would collaborate in putting on a trade and investment summit in this year of 2022. So the two entities on the ground in Barbados that have partnered with the African Export-Import Bank are Export Barbados and Invest Barbados. And a lot of work has been done. The Trade and Investment Forum is coming off. Hundreds of African businessmen, investors, representatives of various banking and financial institutions will be coming to Barbados. We are talking something in the range of 700 African business people and investors. They'll be coming to Barbados to participate in this 4-day event. The whole of the Barbados business community really needs to be aware of this. People need to get on board. The bank has said to me that the people who are coming have made it clear that they're not coming simply to go through the motions of talking about trade and investment. They're coming looking for investment opportunities. They want to find businesses in Barbados and the rest of the Caribbean that they could partner with, that they could invest in. They want to find businesses that they could do trading arrangements with, so that our businesses can penetrate the African market. They can likewise find markets in the Caribbean. And so it's going to be very powerful. It is being hosted in Barbados, but it's not only for Barbados. The entire Caribbean community has been invited. So the CARICOM is on board. The CARICOM Secretariat, the Secretary General of CARICOM will be there. The Caribbean Development Bank, President of the bank, the current chair of CARICOM, President Santoki of Suriname, he will be there addressing the conference. The present chair of the African Union, President Macky Sall of Senegal, he will be there addressing the conference. So this is major, Wendy, and I'm just very anxious that all of the Barbadian people are fully aware of this major event that will be taking place right in our homeland.
How do we get on board?
Go and Google Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. You Google that, the website will come up, and you can register on the website. It doesn't cost you, sir, as an ordinary participant. So you can easily register and come to the event. However, if you wish to be an exhibitor, you wish to have a booth to help promote your business, that is going to cost you some money. But you will find all of the information on the website.
Okay, so if we just wanted to come network and see where we can find some business options, we can just register online without cost. It's only for the exhibiting that we have to pay?
Yes, it would be those who wish to exhibit, who you want to booth, you want to promote your business. But if you're just coming to be part of the event, to take in the speeches, the panels, to get information, you can just register as an ordinary participant and be part of that. They're going to be, so the Wednesday the 31st will be more or less just a formality, visiting the delegates that come in from overseas, a cocktail reception at the Barbados Museum. But the real business starts from Thursday the 1st of September. So you have the opening session at the Barbados Sandiford Conference Center. The CEO of Invest Barbados, the President of the Africa Export-Import Bank, Dr. Carla Barnett, the Secretary General of CARICOM, President Santoki of Suriname, President Macky Sall, keynote address, none other than Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley. And then you go into the various panels looking at industrialization and manufacturing, to promote industrialization and manufacturing in the Caribbean and Africa through special economic zones and industrial parks, the orange economy, cultural and creative industries. There's going to be a big emphasis on the cultural industries, healthcare and life sciences. They're going to look at improving logistics, trade. How do we improve the air and maritime transportation links between the Caribbean and Africa? And Barbados has signaled, our Prime Minister said that Barbados intends to be a driving force in making sure that this happens, that we put in place new transportation links. The bank, and this is a major bank, this is a multi-billion-dollar bank. The bank has committed
this is the bank that has sponsorship on CNN, Ambassador. We see the name. We see the name up, a Frexham Bank, you know. So it is a known and established entity. Yes, so it is.
Yeah, they've said that they're going to put their power behind making sure that we are able to put in place enhanced maritime and air links between the Caribbean and Africa. Agriculture, agribusiness, tourism. There's going to be a special focus on youth and small and medium enterprises. And very, very, very exciting, there's actually going to be a panel on imagining a Caribbean-Africa free trade area agreement. You know, Africa has this continental free trade agreement. We have our CSME, single market and single economy, but at this conference, we're going to start to work on looking at how can we bring the Caribbean and Africa together in a functioning free trade area. So this is really about the Caribbean and Africa coming back together after 400 years of, you know, European imposed slave trade and colonialism and separation. This is us now, you know, taking our own initiative to bring our people back together, to bring our two regions back together. So it's historic.
It sounds extremely exciting. Not only is it an historic conference, but it is going to be creating linkages where they need to be some. Because if the resources of the various African nations, the expertise that Barbados possesses in a number of different industries and so on, can all be meshed, we definitely will have strength in terms of our shared history, and we will just keep building on that, Ambassador. I want to thank you for joining me this morning. We will be following all that happens within the conference as it goes through the days from August into September 3rd, and we wish you and CARICOM well in your participation at this conference as well.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Enjoy Jamaica for both of us.
I will. I have 2 more days to enjoy now.
Okay, then. Don't forget the bun, though.
I'm bringing one for you.
Yes, yes. Don't forget the bun. Thank you so kindly, Ambassador, and do have a good one. That's His Excellency David Comishon, Barbados' Ambassador to CARICOM, telling us all about the Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, the first ever to come off. And it is going to be big, people. Yes, it's going to be big. We'll be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.
And we're back. It's time now for you, perhaps, to win. Yes, we have a giveaway here from Pure Water Filtration. It's time for a giveaway. So if you can contact us on our phone lines, 228-5562, 228-5563 this morning, and answer this question. What else besides Bajan Pure Water can you get from Pure Water Filtration, Inc.? What else can you get from this company? Get on the phone lines, call us. This may be your chance to win this morning. Bajan Pure. Pure Water Filtration Promotion Giveaway. Yes, folks, get on the phone lines, 228-5562, 228-5563. You know, water does a body good. We all need it for survival. It's one of the most important liquids that nature can offer us. Good morning to you. Do you have the answer?
Good morning. I am going to guess.
Go right ahead and guess.
I'm thinking filtered water, so maybe they offer filtration services or water filters.
Okay, let me find out from our producer if we'll accept that. Yes, we will accept that. Yes, they offer various types of water filtration systems along with private labeled products. So that's a winner this morning. Yes, you stay on the line and you give your information to the producer, and they will take it and let you know exactly how you will be able to collect your prize. Thanks for calling this morning and guessing correctly. Do have a good day. Well, that's it for the Pure Water Filtration giveaway. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be telling you a bit more about reparations.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Now we're here to talk about a lunchtime lecture. It's going to be a lecture with a difference, at least the name is, for that matter. It's called Don't Urinate on Me and Call It Rain. Yes, it's going to be a free lunchtime lecture, which is going to be looking at the issue of reparations. I want to welcome to walk us through Lashana Griffith and Mr. Terry Morris, who will be giving the lecture. He is indeed the author of Raped and Robbed, Time for 21st Century Reparations. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Barbados. What's up? What's up?
Well, what's up in Barbados is that we want to hear what you will be telling us at Golden Square, Mr. Morris. But Lashana will first walk us through exactly how this lecture came about and how you're looking to place it within Barbados's thrust toward reparations.
Okay, so good morning, Barbados, and thank you so much for having me. So this lecture, we at Right PR Services are so honored to be organizing, will feature Mr. Morris, who is a civil activist and author, and he will be speaking on the topic of Don't Urinate on Me and Call It Rain, what is emancipation without reparations. And this lecture seeks to discuss reparations and his research that he would have done in the book and Rob Time for 21st Century Reparations. As you know, right now we're in the season of emancipation, so it fits very nicely free discussion that we're going to be having at Golden Square. It's going to be a very beautiful. We have some special performers as well to break up. They will also be addressed by Special Envoy of Reparations and Economic Enfranchisement, Trevor Prescott. So persons can come on down. We have few seats remaining in terms of the reserve seating, but as you know, Golden Square is very open, that persons can sit on the benches, they can stand, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you there at this event, which shall be very informative and engaging.
Yes, and you can even bring your own chair and even your umbrella in case we need to shelter,
yes.
Mr. Morris, from when we're talking about not calling it rain. Now, I can see, based on the title of your book, as well as the title of your lecture, that you are extremely passionate as a civil rights activist about this issue of reparations. Now, you happen to be Barbadian born. You know, what drives this concern which you have about us actually getting reparations?
Okay. Well, once again, good morning, Barbados. It's good to be home. I've been involved in the struggle for African people for a long time. And I think it's about time we see some results. Fighting police brutality in New York, taking on civil rights cases. And I think in terms of this struggle, when I saw George Floyd being stomped on his neck a couple of years ago, it occurred to me that we fight police brutality, we fight injustices, and they usually culminate in one indictment. If you're lucky, you get a conviction sometimes. We need something more concrete, because that's just one conviction. We need something for the masses of African people who've experienced this injustice for 300 to 400 years. And it occurred to me, we need to focus on reparations, because that's what we're actually trying to achieve in a sense. You're not just trying to achieve somebody going to jail. So I put the book together because I was working on it when that incident occurred, and that started a worldwide Black Lives Matter movement all over the world. And so I decided we have to focus more on reparations. You can't ignore the different aspects of the struggle. Reparations is not just one, the only solution. It's a part of it, but it's something we have to strive to achieve. And so I'm happy to be here. Barbados is really the worldwide center of reparations. It's certainly that in the Caribbean. Many years ago, Barbados used to be very conservative. Used to be little England. That's no longer the case. I always joke with my friend, LaShawna, who handles publicity for me here in Barbados. I would joke with her. I said, one day you'll be prime minister. And she chuckled. But the fact is, you have a woman prime minister here. Last time I was here, you reported the Queen. I come back now, you have a woman president. So that's progress. And somebody said the leader of the House, Legislative House, is also a Black woman. So that to me, that's progress in a sense. The world is not as progressive as this place. In the world, women are still more or less oppressed. They have to stay in their place. But so this is very exciting to be here at this time as we try to struggle towards liberation.
Okay, now in this fight toward liberation, outside of placing it on pages which people all over the world can get access to and read about and see how much you are invested in this, what else have you been doing in terms of your activism role?
Well, other than putting together this program, we've been trying to organize some speeches around schools, colleges, basically in New York. We're trying to get some into Washington, D.C., where we have some connection. Try to get more young people involved in this process. You look at somebody like me, I can help, but when you study the struggle of our people, it's really young people who can take the baton and take it further. Any movement that does not include young people is a movement that's designed to fail. Martin Luther King was in charge of a movement at 26 years old. All right. So the young people have to get involved in this because that's really their struggle. Some of you old geezers, you're good. We understand that you're the elders in African tradition, but some of you got to leave the stage. And when you guys tell me it's time for me to leave the stage, I'll gladly leave the stage. We pass it on to somebody else.
Somebody like Lashana. Now, Lashana,
Correct.
in terms of the interest of young people in reparations, before we can get to interest, is there really understanding of what it's about? I remember there was a movement through the Special Envoy's office to get young people to be part of the whole social media handles and, but is it just creating the popularity or are they really understanding?
Okay, so thank you very much for that question. Wendy, as you know, I would work with the Barbados National Task Force on Reparations on their domain where indeed my trident is broken. And that campaign has been doing really well. A few days ago, we had a sit-down meeting with the members of Barbados and OECS, and we are strategizing ways in which participation, not only on social media, but throughout the OECS, ACS, etc. And that so far is going well. There's also a movement to have Reparations conference in October, and we're still strategizing, persons who will be speaking and so on. So to be more information on that, and I'm hopeful that myself and the research officer, program advisor, can come back on to share some more information on that with you. But the conversation we had with your report showed us that many of them follow the page. They're able to read about the CARICOM reparations 10-point plan and what it is, because what we do is to break it down into simple, concise information. So, for example, one of the things that I would tell them is work and when you feel work get the money, you see massa passing in a Mercedes Benz, and that is of your labor. So when you break it down in ways like that they understand, I find that the response is engaging, and the young people are very much interested in this conference. A few of them have told me they're coming, they're excited, they like the topic area, and thus far we're seeing the youth really spearheading on Twitter, on Instagram, and telling persons that they need to be a part of this fight, because this fight is not just about reparations or we're going to get money, but it also is about shaping and unpacking some of that psychological trauma that we have had over 400 years, and understanding how when we unpack that, we are actually having a form of reparations, but also emancipating ourselves from slavery and colonization and all of what that entails in a very small Barbados.
Okay, if I can move back to Terry Morris here quickly. Now, you're saying don't urinate on me and call it rain. Will an umbrella be enough to shield us against the fact that it seems as though the colonizers don't indeed want to give the colonies back anything? I mean, we've heard some of them actually come out and say there's no way they will be turning over the plantations and properties which they inherited for it to become any reparations for any children of former slaves.
Well, I think there's an old saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you expect your enemy or your oppressor to help you, then you're living in a fallacy world. All right. Nothing is ever, freedom is never just handed over. It has to be earned. You have to fight for it in various forms. But in the end, you will achieve it. We have taken steps towards decolonization. We've taken steps towards certainly independence and now your republic. Several years ago, had you asked them that, they couldn't envision that either. They would say, we're not going to do that. So, but as time passes, and when you study the flow of history, people move and shape history. And in the end, they will be in the ash sheet of history also, because the people will demand what they want, and that we are at a point in time in our development where we can avoid the urination and try to get the actual rain.
Yes, and we need that nice rain, not the acid rain, the one that will cleanse it all away. I want to thank you for joining me this morning, Terry Morris. Quickly, where can I get your book?
The book will be available at the event. The book is also available at Dearest Bookstore in the same area. And let me just say one thing to Mr. Bowman, who I spoke to the last time I was here, and to you, Wendy. All right, my parents are no longer alive. And I like to say to you and your producers and the rest of the people, the same thing I said to my parents several years ago. I knew you had a choice, but thanks for having me.
You are most welcome for being here. We had fun, and we think the lecture most certainly seems to be an exciting one, especially given that topic. So I want to thank you, Terry Morris. I also want to thank you, Lashana, for joining us this morning. I wish you well on the 24th. And Barbadians, go on out to Golden Square. It's free. Listen and hear exactly what they have to say about the issue of reparations. Do have a good morning, both of you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's the lecture coming up later this week in Golden Square, Freedom Park, Bridgetown, with the Barbadian-born civil rights activist Terry Morris, who will be presenting his lunchtime lecture, Don't Urinate on Me and Call It Rain. What is emancipation without reparations? We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to some young people who are doing some positive and exciting things in the Barbados Youth Advance Corps.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. We're going to be talking to the Barbados Youth Advance Corps. Yes, it's that organization which looks to empower and teach our young people a number of things. It's under the umbrella of the Ministry of Youth. And I want to welcome this morning Claire Garnes, who's the recruitment officer with the BYAC, as well as Alana Tasker, who is the valedictorian out of Cohort 1, the recently ended new 2-year program. She's among the first group. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Barbados.
Now, let me start with you, Claire, in terms of the whole recruitment process and how Cohort 1 actually panned out in the midst of the pandemic, but you still done it. How was it?
Well, it was a different experience for Cohort 1 because Cohort 1 was definitely not really within the pandemic period, but it was a fresh start, and so they rallied through very well. They did exceptionally well throughout the program, to tell the honest truth. And right now we have Cohort 3 and 4 at present, and we are currently enrolling for Cohort 5 this coming September.
Okay, now what do we need to do to be able to have our young ones, if I wanted to get my teenagers in, what would I do to be able to get them enrolled in the program?
Okay, well, they can access an application form from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment at Haggett Hall, St. Michael. They can always obtain a form also from our head office in number 33 Warrens Industrial Park, St. Michael. Forms normally go to the secondary schools. We normally administer packages to the secondary schools and some of the government ministries as well. So mainly at this time, Sky Mall, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, as well as our head office in Warrens.
Okay, because I know school's out now, and most places have already started enrollment for a new semester, what have you. So I'm just thinking maybe it might be a little too late to get in there through school, so you'd have to do it independently.
Yes, definitely. We have extended our date for deadlines for applications to the 3rd of September. Right?
Okay.
We did have an earlier date, but we know in cases where some CXC results have not been back as yet, and so there are various reasons why persons may be a bit delayed. So we had generously extended our deadline for our enrollment applications to the 3rd of September.
Okay, now I'm going to turn to Alana Tasker. She is the valedictorian for Cohort 1. Now, the statement of the organization is build a world where all youth are safe, strong, and valued. After graduating, Alana, is that how you feel?
Yeah.
Tell me, what has happened through this service, this youth corps, that has put you in that position?
Well, joining the youth service helped me a lot. It made me to gain a lot of experience and stuff.
Tell us about some of the stuff that you're now able to cope with far better than when you went into the program.
It helped me went back to school and learn some more. I went to the poly and did the childcare nursery management course. Then it was sent off to my
job attachment phase. And during the experience, I would learn to just be patient and handle certain experiences with them. It helped me a lot.
Okay, now you were the valedictorian, and you also would have received the Minister's Award. Now, what kind of feeling did it give you, knowing that maybe before going into this program, you didn't think that this was something you could achieve?
Going into this program, I no, but it was well achieved. I was surprised. I worked hard. I think I did well to achieve it.
Okay, now you would have completed it. You said you're now into an area of nursing. If you were to tell another young person out there searching for their way in life, and you wanted to tell them about the Youth Advanced Corps, what would be some of the things you would say to them to get them involved?
I would tell them join it, be patient, go in there and focus on what you want. Don't mind people. It's not only a program for bad behaved children or so. You could go in there with a plan to say you're going back to school, study, get your CSCs, push hard, and come out well.
Okay, back over to you now, Claire. You all, there are basically like three tenets that the program builds on: lifelong learning, personal growth, and employment. Let's break them down.
Okay, our program really is a three-phase program. And to shed some light on all of that, it is, we normally start with a residential camp, which really focuses heavily on discipline. From the get-go, we make sure that that is the base from which we push off with our trainees. The residential camp normally lasts for a period of 12 weeks. After that period, then, they would go on to an area of study that they're passionate about, whatever that may be. Under the offerings of our program, we get them into institutions of learning such as SJPI, BCC, BIMAP. There are many Barbados Vocational Training Board courses as well, and also 2 agricultural programs we have running, the Sojourner Foundation as well as All Greens Green Spaces. So there are many options for them to pursue an area of choice. That occurs within the first year of the program because, as you know, Wendy, it's a 2-year program. Now, within the second year, we focus heavily on job attachment, work experience, and also community service and national projects is a part of that second year. So we try to instill in them the giving back, the importance of giving back to the community, giving back to the country. So it's a well-rounded program. They gain really well. They gain skills. They discover themselves. Sometimes they start the program and they're unsure as to what area they can fit into. Any niche area they're not sure about. But as they go through the program, they start to discover new skills that they realize, I'm really good at this. And that is what it is all about. And that is the 3 phases of the program and how everything really blends together.
Now, Alana raised a point that I want to look at, where she said that the program is not just for bad behaved children. A lot of people over the years have believed it to be a program only for delinquent youth who may have run afoul of the law, things like that. But she's just pointed out that it is open to all. In it being open to all, how easy is it for you all to be able to secure the job attachments which these cohorts go on?
Well, I'm glad Alana had mentioned that. I'm glad she raised that point about not only catering to young people who may be delinquent. We do have within our cohorts really intelligent, really successful, very forward-thinking young people. The job attachment aspect of the program, there are many forums in which we access these jobs for our trainees. We look at, obviously, their skills, their abilities, and what they're best suited for, and try to align them accordingly. Now, in terms of the institutions or the businesses that would normally offer these job attachments, we've partnered with businesses across the island, both within the public sector and the private sector, and they take on our trainees, because after the first year where they completed their training and they've gained a certificate in the particular area they study, they then go on to their job attachment and they're employed within these workplaces for a period of months where they can gain the necessary work experience and be able to hone the skills that they have learned within the first year. So as we've partnered with businesses, the job attachment aspects really ties in, and we don't get any difficulties at all. Outside of that, we even expose them to many work experience as possible, because through the Ministry of Labor, they also have their Job Start Plus training program, and we expose our trainees to that as well. So there are many avenues for job attachments.
All right, so it means that you are building rounded individuals, and I am happy to hear that the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps is ready to recruit once again, and that we can see shining examples of what it means, like through individuals like Alana Tasker. I want to thank you both for joining me this morning, Claire Garnes, the recruitment officer, and Alana Tasker, the valedictorian from Cohort 1. Have a great morning, ladies.
Thank you for having us, Wendy.
And this is how you can get involved if you want your young person to be a part of the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps. Let's take a look.
Early in the morning, do some drills, or it's PT while I'm yawning. Sun ain't gonna kill, but it's all for the better me. Trying to change my destiny.
BYSC, molding the youth of tomorrow. BYSC, teaching us to dig, not to
We the do drills.
Learning life skills, marching on top, confidence
The Barbados Youth Advanced Corps, building the youth for a brighter tomorrow.
Register today for the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps September 18th, 2022 intake. Call 535-0180 or 535-3835 for more information.
And remember, that deadline has now been extended until September 3rd, so go on over to Sky Mall and get your forms to register. Well, it's been fun being with you this morning, sitting in for Pearson. He will be back with you tomorrow. So, here's a brilliant Monday to all of you. I'm Wendy Burke.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.